With the release of Despicable Me 4, it's time to rank all 15 Illumination movies. Now we all know that Illumination isn't the best studio, but they still release some entertaining movies, so let's rank them. Have you ever watched that one movie where you grew up on and loved it, but then revisited it later and found out that the movie's not as good as you remembered? Well, that's this movie for me, The Secret Life of Pets. I grew up on and loved it, but then when I watched it recently, I saw all the flaws in the movie. One of the big ones is that there's a lot of plot points in this movie that the movie is just rushed because it's introducing new ideas every 6 minutes and then basically is done by the next 6 minutes. So every 6 minutes there's a new story they're telling. You got Duke's owner, Duke in the house, these pets on the run. There's so many plot points in this movie, all in an hour and 20 minutes. Way too short and way too rushed for everything that they're doing. I think they needed to pick one plot point to focus on and told it that way. And also, just the main premise alone, what do your pets do when you're gone? It's not really tackled in this movie. The Secret Life of Pets is not like that. This is a different movie with a dog getting a new dog in the house. It's not really what happens. What do your pets do when you're gone? Not entirely. It's still like that kind of, but not the way they promised. I can still like this movie because I did grow up on it, but I see the flaws in it now. My thoughts stay on migration. They stay the same. My review says that I enjoyed the movie, which I do. You can put it on, waste time, stuff like that. But my main problem with the movie is what they try to do in the last 20 minutes of the movie. It's incredibly stupid to me and kind of ruins the film. They tried to force in a villain. You do not need to force in a villain into the movie. The movie is perfectly fine the way it is. You do not need to force in a villain. But they try to anyways, which also makes them force in another character arc. You do not need to force in this son's character arc. This character arc is so stupid and comes out of nowhere that it's just incredibly stupid the way everything pays off. I do not like the last 20 minutes of the movie. Everything else, I can enjoy it. The last 20 minutes of this movie is so frustrating to me that the villain and the other character arc just shouldn't exist because it's incredibly annoying why that stupid character arc and the stupid villain is even in this movie. Doing a Illumination ranking means you have to watch Hop in the middle of summer. And I did that. And now, in going into this movie, I wasn't really expecting to like it, but I did enjoy it. I tend to watch this movie every Easter. I try to. Sometimes I enjoy it, sometimes I don't. This time around, I did enjoy myself with the movie. Now, I do think this movie made the mistake of telling us the end of the movie at the start of the movie and kind of spoiling where this thing goes. But besides those last 20 minutes with that stupid boss fight, I did really enjoy this movie throughout it. Just seeing how this Easter Bunny goes through the entire movie, I just loved all the concepts and ideas in here, and the human characters as well. But other days, I enjoyed this movie, and then other days I don't. So it's a really mixed bag for me, but I enjoyed it this time around. Minions: The Rise of Gru is a fun enough movie. Now, I do like how Gru is in this movie and kind of the main focus of the movie. It's basically not really a Minions movie fully. It's just more of a Gru origin story. They kind of combine the two. Just the reason why this movie is so low on this list is because I feel like it's not as enjoyable as every other movie on this list. I would rather put on one of those movies instead of putting on this movie. Even though I do like half of the ideas in this movie, I don't really have much problems with it. It flies by and it's just quick fun to put on, which is mostly what these Illumination movies are. Just fun movies. Despicable Me 2 is low on this list. I know a lot of people will have it a lot higher, but for me it's right here. Now, yes, I do like everything they do in this movie. I like Lucy, I like the new villain, I like the purple minions. I like it all. It's just, I didn't really fully enjoy it. I like all the themes and stuff. It's just, compared to everything else, I feel like I don't find myself putting this movie on compared to everything else on here. Like, even compared to the other Despicable Me movies, I don't find myself putting on Despicable Me 2. Like, I'd rather put on the first one or other stuff, which we will talk about. But I do not find myself putting on this one. Like Cop, when you're doing an Illumination ranking, you have to watch Christmas movies in the middle of summer. Yes, I watched The Grinch in the middle of summer. Now, I do like this version of The Grinch. Now, a hot take for me, which I will probably dive into this when we're actually in the Christmas season, but I do not like the live-action version of The Grinch. I enjoyed this one. This one's not my favorite version of The Grinch, but I do enjoy it. Now, yes, since the book is thin, this is also one of my problems with the live-action movie, since the book is thin, you have to cram so much in the movie. Hence, this movie has a plot point about the Grinch finding a reindeer, and he does, but then the reindeer's gone. So basically, that entire chunk right there, you can basically rip out of the movie. It doesn't even matter. Now, yeah, I do like this movie. I like the songs and stuff they added here because that's kind of what Illumination does. And it kind of works for this movie because it's Christmas season and stuff like that. But since the book is so thin, the movie had to really extend it to make it work. Meaning there's a lot of filler in here. Despicable Me 4 is a great, fun add into this franchise. Now, yes, it's not a great movie, but it is a fun one. My problem with the movie is that the main plot point of the movie is not the main plot point. You have that plot point, then you have a bunch of small plot points that they introduce throughout the movie, they're sprinkled in there throughout it, and then we finish off with the main plot point. Now, yes, normally that wouldn't work, but since I feel like this movie was such a fun time, it worked for me. Fun movie, like the Mega Minions and all that. Great added to this franchise, and I can't wait to see more of what they do next. Despicable Me 3 is another fun add into this franchise. You introduce Gru's brother, and then there's some shenanigans like that. Just makes for another fun movie. Lucy trying to be a mom, and then also exploring town, finding unicorns, stuff like that. Makes for another great add into this franchise, and another fun one as well. Out of every Despicable Me and Minions movie that I have mentioned so far, this is the one that I would put on to have a fun time with. Now, like I said, every Despicable Me movie I mentioned, they're just fun. They're fun movies. That includes this one as well. They're just fun movies to put on. The Secret Life of Pets 2, I didn't grow up on. I only watched it once, and this was my second time watching it, was when I rewatched it for this ranking. And I did like it significantly more than the first movie. I like each character has their own little story, then they eventually all collide. My only problem with the movie though is where all the stories collide, it felt forced. The stories felt like they were not meant to collide in the end. And it felt like they needed to because they got like bad reviews for it or something. When the stories collided at the end, something was off. They didn't really feel like it all needed to collide by the end of the movie. I feel like you could have easily had a movie just focused on Max alone. Focused on his fears of having a new kid and stuff like that, and him being tougher on that. I feel like if you make a story on that alone, this movie could be better because the stories don't merge together at the end. But you have Snowball's storyline being forced into Max's storyline. I think Gidget just shows up because her storyline was in the movie. So then just where everything merges in the last 20 minutes doesn't feel right. Now, I did grow up on the Minions, which is why this is probably higher than on my list than it is for most other people's. And I just find this movie to be a lot of fun. I find this to be the funniest out of every Despicable Me and Minions movie, just because you have a movie focused on the Minions, which makes it a funny movie. I also like them having to find the boss. They end up finding the super villain. Just everything that follows that, I did like. I really like this movie a lot more than other people. Really fun and hilarious movie as well. Now, although The Lorax may not be a great movie, I did say The Grinch felt a little long because the book is so thin, but I feel like The Lorax does a way better job at it. Yes, the book is thin, but they somehow incorporate the story, whereas the story in a story. Basically, this guy's telling a story to another person, which is what makes it work, because you have this present story on what Thieville looks like. And speaking of Thieville, songs in here, they're fun to listen to. They're really catchy songs. And they're pretty good songs to just like listen to, and they can get stuck in your head too. But then when you get to the main plot with the Lorax, there's a lot of funny bits in here, and yeah, it's just another good movie. Seeing this Dr. Seuss story in Illumination form is just fun. Now when it comes to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, every actor does an amazing job. The moment this movie came out, everyone was like, we owe Chris Pratt an apology, and that's absolutely true, but the actor that stands out is, of course, Jack Black. Because it's Jack Black. Why wouldn't he stand out? Now, yes, if you're a Mario fan, this movie is 100% for you. Seeing all the Easter eggs everywhere and falling in love with it. The only problem, though, is this story is extremely rushed. Again, the movie's an hour and 20 minutes. Story is incredibly rushed. Like, it's not as bad Secret Life of Pets, but basically what happens is Mario lands and like plot point speeds by every 5 minutes. You're in a new location. It just speeds by, which is a bad thing. This movie needed to be longer, but since it's an Illumination movie, that's what kind of stops it from being that. Animation is beautiful, and I want to see more Illumination movies with this animation, but if they really wanted to continue this and make like a Super Smash Bros. Movie, they need to make their movies not as rushed and change the tone that they become much darker movies. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I put The First Thing in third place. I love the main message with this movie. Such a heartwarming movie with the theme and everything like that. Now, of course, it's not as good as the second one, which we will talk about momentarily, but this movie has a great theme, great characters, great music. What is there not to like? A lot of people say there's potty humor, which I can understand that, but that doesn't stop it from being a good movie. Just because certain jokes don't land, the movie can still be really good. And I do really like this movie. Maybe a little more than I should, but I just ignore the problems and just enjoy the movie for what it is. The first Despicable Me movie, you can never forget it. It has Victor, introduces Gru, introduces the minions, introduces these girls, introduces this world to the franchise, and starts this franchise. This is the only Despicable Me movie that I feel like has the best theme in here and the best heart out of all of them, because everything else is just fun time. This one actually takes the theme and the heart to it, with these girls and being a dad, stuff like that. Actually has it in the best way. And it's not just for entertainment, but actually has a nice theme to the movie. And what is there not to like about Gru and his minions as well? But of course, number one on this list is Ring 2. Is such a really good movie compared to every other Illumination movie on this list. This one extremely stands out. Like the first Thing movie, the theme, like the first Thing movie had a great theme and heartwarming stuff like that. But the second one takes it to a whole new level, and they were like, hey, we had that theme in here, but what if we take it a step further and add this whole better theme to it that can make people cry? That's what Sing 2 did, and added such a emotional theme to it. And then just the whole plot itself is as heartwarming as the first movie, and Illumination completely blew this movie out of the water, came out of nowhere and just surprised everyone, because I really like Sing 2. I love everything to do with this movie. And if they make a Sing 3, which I think is in development, it needs to be like Sing 2. Like, I'm fine if it's like Sing 1, but if you take the theme that Sing 2 had, it steps it up completely, so. But with that, that was my ranking of all 15 Illumination movies. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, maybe these ones on the side will interest you too. Like and subscribe, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.